following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Tuesday, October 26th, 2021, season 17, episode number 47. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Stars. Big Picture Tuesday. A lot of topics we're going to hit today. We're going to talk about some injuries, catch you guys up there. We're going to talk about this NFC. There are 5 teams in the NFC who are all right there at the top. We're going to talk about how they stack up and which ones might be the toughest matchups for the Cowboys. And then we're going to get to some fan questions a little later in the show. We want to hear from you guys. You can call us 888-855-2297. I already have a lot of questions I got from Twitter yesterday from you guys. So we'll get into some of those. If you want to send me some more, you can hit me some more on Twitter, or you can call us again at that number, 888-855-2297. We'll get to that in the second and third segments. Nick, it's your time. 47. What you got? I saw you smile over there.
One of my favorite names of all time.
Okay.
Dexter Clinkscale.
I thought you were going to say Lusaka Polite just because that's a great name.
No, he's like...
Not the number. I'm saying the name. But go ahead.
Dexter Clinkscale.
It sounds like something from a Madden mode franchise, generate a player.
Right.
Well,
Clever.
Last night, every now and again, I just like to look at some old YouTube videos, whatever. Something came up from like 1982, and he made an interception for a touchdown, and I'm like, oh, Dexter Clinkscale. Yeah,
okay.
It was not big in 1982.
Yeah.
But what about Lawrence Vickers?
Sure.
Remember him?
No.
I do. I remember the name.
No, I don't.
You don't remember Vickers?
No.
I thought you were here for that game. No, that was Cincinnati game.
Ooh, no,
that
that
was something else.
That was the year before me.
And you got any 47s on your radar?
No, I'm
the
drawing.
40s, you're just like, I'm out.
This is a really bad stretch.
I'm
here.
set like 42 is probably the last. What number did God? People are gonna hate me.
God didn't wear a number.
What number did Moose wear?
48.
48. Okay.
So we'll get him.
I was gonna say Moose obviously was in the 40s, and then like Barry Church But nobody wants to wear a number in the 40s. And Terence Newman as well. But
they drafted, and back in the 90s, they drafted third round. They drafted a guy named Clayton Holmes that they thought was going to be
Remember
good.
the name, yeah.
He didn't work out so well.
Did he end up on the Desperados?
No.
He didn't even make the Red.
Nah, he had some issues.
It's fun. Like I get in arguments with people all the time. I'm like, the player makes the number. Any number will look cool if the player's good. I firmly believe that.
I actually believe that too.
But 36. At the same, I'm sorry.
How do you make 36 look good?
If Tony Pollard was still wearing 36, it would look badass because he's a good player.
Yeah,
Earl Campbell,
Bettis was 36.
Yeah,
he made 36 look pretty good.
Earl Campbell made 34 look awesome.
Do it.
Earl Campbell made 34 look awesome.
Well, back in the day, 34 was a great running back
34 was
number.
the number.
Like,
I'm just
34,
saying.
32, yeah.
The player can make the number, but at the same time, like 40, 46, 47, 48, 49, like.
Hey, we'll speed it up tomorrow. 47 is Dexter Clinkscale. 48.
We're gonna step it up. Yeah.
We'll just be like Moose, and we'll go because there's really not a lot of options there.
Yeah, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Okay,
tomorrow, so.
There we go.
All right, here we go. Let's catch up on some injuries. We got 3 names I want to throw to you guys. You guys tell me where they are and what you expect for this weekend. Dak Prescott. What are you hearing about Dak Prescott and where he is in his recovery?
Let me start because I probably need to change a little bit. My opinion has changed somewhat since yesterday.
Talk to somebody.
I think he's going to play a little. I mean, I do think he'll play. I do not think he will be normal. It's not going to be normal Dak. I don't think he'll be running.
Has he been normal all season? Like, is there anybody that's normal at this point?
I don't think. I think it's got to be wide open for him to run. I just don't think he's going to be looking to run. Yeah. I bet you they don't. Quarterback sneaks.
Let me ask you this. Does that affect his mobility in the pocket? Because he does move around and look to throw. Are you saying you don't expect him to do a lot of that?
No, he'll have to do that if he's going to play. But I just feel like, and I think he is going to play. I think it's more encouraging than what I thought. But I'm just saying, I'm just going to say it. he's got to be careful with it because it can just come up and grab you at any time. And so that's the one thing that's kind of alarming.
Well, I really think, and I was thinking about this on my drive up here because we do these hits with 105.3 in the morning, and they ask us. What's that?
Good hit this morning.
Thanks. They ask us a ton of questions about player availability, and I mean I get that, and we have a sense, but I really do. I think people forget that this is an evolving conversation. Like I think Dak's going to play. I think, again, you read context clues. He stepped out. He stepped out of the facility yesterday during media availability in front of the whole Cowboys beat, probably 30 reporters, and the team nutritionist Scott. They had a private bet where Scott agreed to run wind sprints and do a bunch of work like calisthenics and stuff in exchange for Dak going to his kid's little league game and breaking them down. And I mean that's fun. Like if you know the quarterback of the Cowboys well enough that you can kind of bribe him to break down your kid's little league game. Like how cool is that?
Yeah.
But
let's talk about that in a second too. That speaks a lot towards Dak. But let's
of course,
get to the.
But he's not doing that if he's not feeling pretty good. He's just not. He came out in slides with no boot on, and Clarence Hill and some of the other reporters are kind of heckling him from a distance, like, "Why don't you come over here and talk to us?" And he's like, why would I give that away today?" He's not doing that if he's not feeling pretty good about where he's at. Right. He's just not. And then you talk to other people in the organization, you have conversations, maybe you see some things like that. I do think he's going to play, but they haven't practiced yet. And so if he goes through a full practice regimen today and halfway through practice it's bothering him, the conversation changes. So you have an inkling on Tuesday, but that can totally change based on the workload. And I do think there's a threshold that he needs to clear by probably Friday. And we'll know more then. So like maybe that sounds like a cop-out, but he's got to go through 2 days of practice without having it bother him. And I think that's important to remember.
Well, they had a light practice yesterday closed to the media, and from what it sounds like, he was able to do a little bit, enough where Jerry Jones was encouraged about it. And, it's Monday, and if they could have easily just kept him out and not on his feet and all that. So if he is doing some things, throwing the ball around, that's a good sign. I don't think he'll do a lot of running right now. I mean, because you have a full week, and you have 6 more hours than you normally would because it's a Sunday night game as well. So I think the signs are encouraging that he's going to be able to do something here. I still think. I'll be surprised if he's at full mode. If we're not like I don't even know he's hurt. I think you'll see a little bit of that, but that's okay. I mean, if he's 90%, 80%, that's better than That's better than what you have with Cooper Rush, just because of the dynamics of the entire offense and how it's just working so well.
Yeah. I said today, I mean, if he's at 80%, that's good enough for me because nobody's at 100% anyway. So if you assume you're regularly at somewhere between 90 and 100, then 80, I can live with 80.
Yeah, it was interesting. Both of you guys, I think, hit the nail on the head when you kind of qualified it. I heard Jerry Jones this morning on Sean and RJ on 105.3. He was saying something similar. He said, I think about some of these injuries that I've heard, and I think he was mentioning Zach, but he was saying, what he'd heard was there are mornings you wake up and you feel great, and it feels like you can do everything you normally do. And then the next day you might wake up and it feels like you got hit by a truck. Like it's not one of those injuries that seems like it's just always, I feel good today. That means I'm going to feel even better tomorrow. And I see you over there looking like that, but I think that's kind of your experience as well.
It's one of those things. It's just like, hello.
I'm still here.
Hi. Oh, yeah. Don't forget about me. It's like, wham.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So I think that all signs are certainly positive, and it looks like they're progressing in the right way. It certainly sounds like he's actually moving around, which is a positive sign. We'll see how that progresses throughout the week.
Yeah. Let's go back to Dak real quick, because I have a feeling how that whole thing went was, and the nutritionist Scott, he probably asked, I'm sure he probably said, "Hey, my son, you're his, favorite player, whatever, and then have a game, and can you come to the game and break him down in the huddle and all that?" And Dak probably said, "All right, yeah, I could do that, but what are you gonna do?" He's like, "You need to do, probably do these wind sprints, whatever, and all that." Which I hope the son realizes what Dad's out there doing, running around. But Dak was like cheering him on, like goes out there and he's yelling. He's like, "Let's go!" And he's clapping. He's like, "Pick it up!"
Very facetiously.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I just love that he's able to, that he does things like that. And I still can't get over the Ty and Secchi golf tournament thing. Like when Ty and Secchi got here, and I think he had a golf tournament. I mean, nobody knows this guy, and he's here, and he's a new player, and Dak shows up. He's the ultimate teammate, and not just to players, but to the football staff and that community and that group.
And the other thing I'll point out about that, and this is not, I'm not taking a shot at anyone else, but we have seen over the years, specifically with the quarterback, as time goes and they become more entrenched as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, they change. And that a lot of that, I think, happens because you got so many people pulling at you. You got so many people asking things of you. You have to adapt to that and kind of take control of yourself in order to make sure you're not just completely stretched thin.
Yeah.
Dak has done that. He has certainly tightened the boundaries of what he's willing to do and not do and those kinds of things. But Dak, as far as what he has represented to certainly what I've seen, has not changed. Like, he's been the same dude. He's been that dude from the moment he arrived all the way to the current moment. And that's the part I appreciated about him the most, is that he just seems to be the same dude, which I love authentic people. Yeah. He's just an authentic person.
I just want to throw out there, which I thought about this because I had to figure out a way to put that in a tweet yesterday, which it's a lot when you're dealing with a character limit. But he's the director of sports performance, Scott Sennert. And I'll throw a shout out to his assistant as well, the assistant dietitian, Claire Gilbert, who actually went to LSU. I just think it's interesting. Like, there's an army of people that make this thing go, and Scott and Claire are a big part of it. I always laugh, like they are running around throughout the game, like helping get stuff for the players on the sideline, getting the post-game meal ready. Like, there's whole people that don't even see the game.
The operation of this thing is crazy.
You don't see the game because you're making sure 60 people have a burrito or whatever the meal is that night that they can grab on their way to the bus. And it's cool that it pays off for them in ways, because Lord knows, I mean, the equipment guys, the video, the hours that you put in working for a football team is insane. So shout out to them for being the faceless people who make all this go.
Let me go back to what you were saying. You weren't saying it. I'll say it. Okay. Tony Romo, to me, didn't. I'll say it. Tony Romo, I don't know if he changed. His life changed.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the backup quarterback that was sitting there just talking to people in the locker room, and then all of a sudden, right. He was playing on our flag football team. Yeah. Played well until the playoffs, and then that's what happened. It's what happened.
The shots being thrown at number 9 this morning.
I love Tony. I would caddy for him if he needed me to, which I did. No, I love Tony, but I'm saying his life changed. Yeah. And so how do you react to that? How do you handle it? It's not like all of a sudden he just changed everything. Now he's getting asked to judge Miss America contest. Yeah. So his life changed, and he had to adapt with it, and did it. That's what happens. You leave people behind. You remember when you used to do this? Ha ha ha. That's just the way it was. I just applaud Dak for being able to. Sounds like being able to handle it in a different way. And so I'm not. That's why I'm not trying to crucify Tony for.
Right. I'm not judging anyone. Yeah.
I mean, his life changed in a big way. Dak's life has changed too, but he's kind of figured it out a little bit. And you got to remember too, Dak's rookie year, his 3 months into it, he's the man.
And by the way, when he was in college, he was the man. So being the man was not something new for him.
No.
He was the man in college.
He's awesome. And there's a lot of people that say, well, he's not like this and that. Yeah, Dak and Tony are totally different. And people compare them all the time. But it's more about what Dak is, I don't think, than what Tony is not. And I'm not trying to take shots at him. It's really about what Dak has done here.
Yep. All right, let's get a couple other injury updates. We got a couple guys that.
Oh, right. You were trying to go down a list, and we just went into.
No, that's fine. Actually,
Dak does that.
I knew we were going to take a long time on Dak, which we should. There are two other guys though that we have to talk about: Michael Gallup, Tristan Hill. Where are they in their returns?
Michael Gallup is supposed to practice tomorrow, and Tristan Hill is as well. And we'll throw in Francis Bernard. He's obviously
Really? I've completely forgot about his name. Yeah.
He's not on the same level. Michael.
No, yeah, but
Gallup
still
is
helps,
a starter. Right? Tristan was a big piece of the rotation. Which you're right though. Bernard kind of shores up your linebacker numbers that we've been worried about. So all three of those guys supposed to practice. Doesn't mean they're on the roster. Again, could Gallup play Sunday? Theoretically, yeah, but maybe he's not ready. I think it just depends on how he looks.
I should know this. Is Semi Fehoko on the roster?
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Now I'm second guessing myself.
I should know. I mean, I know the roster is not what it used to be. Okay,
no, it's not. It's very
just
different.
up down. I mean,
remember we used to do like inactives on Fridays. Like I wouldn't even want to try to go down that.
There's 100 different lists to put these. guys
Semi's still on the team. He's been inactive recently because Malik Turner came back.
One of those two guys is probably not going to be on the roster if.
I can't imagine at this point. I can't imagine that they risk losing Semi. And I know we overanalyze that. You probably can, but they've carried him this long.
Yeah.
It certainly seems like his development is a piece of this whole thing, knowing that Cedric, Noah, and Gallup are all slated for free agency. I would be kind of surprised at this point, but maybe. I mean,
League turn,
you got to do what you got to do in the course of a season.
I want to talk about one other guy, and I want to put a pin in Michael Gallup for a second because I think what I'm about to talk about with Lyle Collins, I think could possibly be a similar conversation for Michael Gallup. Lyle Collins is obviously back on the active roster now after his 5-week suspension. And there have been comments from Jerry and Steven this week that suggest that there's a possibility, at least, that he doesn't start, mainly from the idea of, hey, why rush it? If he looks a little rusty, if he needs to work back in, we don't have to rush him back into the lineup. The first question is, do you think he starts this week? And then I want to talk about it from the standpoint of both he and Gallup. Is this the right approach when you got a guy that's already in there? Cedric Wilson's playing well. Terence is playing well. Do you take the right approach with this of letting those guys kind of ease back in? Maybe Gallup isn't even active this week. They don't have to necessarily make him active right now. And you just kind of let those guys ease back in rather than rushing them back in because the guys who replaced them are playing well.
Can I just say, I know you're trying to kind of marry the two together, but I really think these are completely different situations.
Great.
Which one do you want to take, Dave?
I'll do what you don't do.
The receiver, I'll talk about the receiver position, though. They can figure out how to get Gallup in there, just like they looks like they were getting Cedric in there. Like Noah Brown kind of fits into it. You can figure out ways to kind of do that.
Give him some snaps.
Give him some snaps to ease back into this. So that's why I kind of feel like it's a completely different situation of making the move, because either one of them is not. I mean, because these receivers won't be the starter; it'll be the third guy. So the third and fourth guy is not that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a big deal because it's a huge deal for mismatches and stuff like that. But I think there's ways to get him in. Malik Turner was getting in, so I think you can get Gallup in there in his own kind of way and ease him back into it. I don't think it's different with the right tackle.
I agree, but I do think it kind of plays into what we said about Dak is. That's what this week is for. And it's funny because I think the Joneses played that the right way, but by not just saying like, yeah, Lyle will be right back in there, then that does the other thing where it creates a quote unquote controversy about like, well, maybe Terence Steele's going to keep his job. And I think it's really more along the lines of this guy's played one game since 2019, and then he took 5 weeks off. And you just want to see where he is. Every report, every indication that I've heard is that Lyle, I mean, he's been allowed back in the building since like week 3. So I think his conditioning is good. I think he's ready to hit the ground running, but you don't need him to if he's not ready. And so they're just like, we can keep our options open. We can practice Terence. We can practice Lyle. If he just looks like a boss and he's ready to go right away, he could play Sunday. If he's not, that's no problem either. And I actually... This wasn't related to Lyle at all. It was about it was when Tyron was hurt. Mike McCarthy he didn't laugh at me, but I could tell he didn't think it was a great question.
Which wasn't the first time or last time.
No,
right?
Not at all. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the point, sort of. You try to ask good questions. They're not all going to be great.
It's fine.
But I asked about like Inseki playing left tackle because Tyron was limited or whatever, and he made the point. Again, he didn't laugh, but he was like, this is kind of obvious that they practice all of those guys anyway. And if you remember training camp, they move them up and down as well. Like even when everybody's healthy, they were giving guys looks. So I think Lyle will practice with the first team this week. I know Terence Steele probably will as well. And so You don't have to make that decision on Wednesday.
There's another element to this that I think is always a thing. It's always a thing with the Cowboys, and when it comes to talking to the media, Jerry and Steven talk a lot for owners and general managers and whatever.
Both of them on weekly shows, multiple times.
They're on. Each of them are on the radio at least twice a week.
They talk more in a given week than most owners do in a year,
Probably.
really, because the average NFL owner talks at the owners' meetings and maybe the combine and like once at training camp, and that's all you ever hear from them.
And I would say in this for this. They're the GM, talking. Right. Either way, they talk a lot. And there's been, I'm not saying it's happened so much this year. Maybe there was one time, I can't remember what it was, where Mike said something and Jerry had kind of said something different. I forget. Do you remember what it was?
It was yeah.
Was it something?
It was injury related.
Yeah.
Like Mike was, trying to do the coach thing and keep it close to the chest, and Jerry the next day was like, well, yeah, he's going to start.
So
I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember either, but I mean, it happens. It's always kind of happened.
It's been happening. It happened for years.
For years. And so what I'm saying is when they say, well, we'll see about that. We'll see. Let's let Mike McCarthy address that. It's not necessarily like I'm not trying to answer this. It's more like, oh, sorry, you're right, Mike. You address these. And now we're dealing with a coach that doesn't want to tell you anything. He doesn't want to tell you what he had for lunch today because he just feels like somebody might change it, might like take that into something, So that's where the rub is. It's not just about trying to be really coy about it. It's like, well, the head coach is supposed to announce this, and he doesn't want to announce it because he doesn't have to. Yeah. So that's where I think some of this is.
I do think if LC proves that he's healthy and conditioned and ready to go, that he'll be in the starting lineup. That's just my guess, but I guess, we'll see.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, let's talk about the NFC. There are 5 teams, Arizona, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles Rams, and the Cowboys, who are sitting at the top of the division. I want to ask you guys where the Cowboys rank in that list and who could give them problems. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The fans decide what a good show is.
Back to the break.
Does that mean we're back?
Oh, wait. Oh, wow. Everybody misses Chris Beam. Download the official app of the Dallas Cowboys to get access to in-market game broadcast, mobile tickets, daily podcasts, live pregame and postgame shows, game updates, and more. Download in the app or Google Play stores.
See, this is what happens when you start letting Talking Cowboys.
Don't let the Eagles come in and decide whether you're gonna.
Exactly
come on now,
bench warmers talking like starters.
You're good.
Bad idea.
You're good.
Man, our guy Colin Yeomans, thank you for running the board today and
let's see how Hitsticks does today.
Being our producer for the day with Chris Beam out. All right, we're gonna.
Kyle, what's up? Pod yourself up.
No, he doesn't want to talk
He's out. He's out.
He left.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's talk about the NFC. There are 5 teams sitting at the top of this division, and they all are looking really, really good right now. You've got Arizona, who is 7-0, and then you got all the next 4 teams who all have 1 loss: Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles Rams, and the Dallas Cowboys. Where do you think Dallas falls in this mix of these 5 teams sitting atop the division? I mean, the conference.
I'm going to take your question and I'm going to turn it so that I don't really have to answer it.
Go.
Yeah. I'll just say I don't know. I don't know. Arizona looks scary. The second place team in their division might be the most complete team in the league for my money, just with what Matthew Stafford's doing for the Rams and what they have on defense. Packers, Bucks, you get it. But and I said this Sunday night, more so than the hierarchy of how those teams fall, nobody's in a better spot than the Cowboys, just in terms of their outlook. Like, I'm not talking about how good they are or their record. They play in the East. They have, look at Arizona's 7-0, and they've got a team breathing down their neck. The Saints are going to be pesky. They play this week, by the way. Green Bay, maybe they're in a similar spot. My point just being is, like, the Cowboys can realistically start thinking about locking up the division now. And we can worry about the bye and all that type of stuff when it happens, but you only got to win like 4 more games to assure yourself a home playoff game.
That's crazy.
Maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe not.
If these teams keep losing like they're losing,
that's what I'm saying. And so all I say by that is, like, I don't know where they fall in the standings, but they have the easiest path of anybody in the NFC to playing a home playoff game, and that's exciting.
I think it's very important to get out of that 4th spot. Yeah, you need to be better than 4th of the division winners. If you're going to win the division, obviously you got to do that. And they look like they're going to have a great chance to do that. But you can't be 4th because there's 5 teams right now that are showing that they're good. And if it's like you said, it could be the Rams or it could be the Cardinals. One of those 2 could be the 5th place team and come in and play the Cowboys right off the bat. It's supposed to be a wild card game, and that thing would be 4 or 5 games going to be.
Yeah, it's like the difference between maybe playing that team or playing maybe the Vikings.
The Vikings or
the Bears or whoever else you want to throw in there that's middling kind of.
And that will be a tough game. There's not like, obviously it will be playoffs. But I'm just saying,
no, but
there's a big difference between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yeah. Obviously a big difference for 1 to get the bye, but 2, 3, and 4, you don't want to be that 4th spot.
The best wild card team, and it's early, but the best wild card team is looking like it could be a 10, 11, maybe 12 win team. Yeah. So that's a really good point.
I wasn't going to rule out the 49ers either, but they had a tough loss. It's tough, like back there. Those teams.
Conditions in that game were pretty weird too. So
I'd rather solve like the quadratic formula than try to figure out the Saints. I don't know what they are.
God, that was.
I think I'm starting to know what they are. Like,
they're a Sean Payton coach team.
I keep
That's
expecting,
what they are.
and I told you this yesterday. I think, Dave, when we were all standing up there talking, I was like, I don't ever want to count out a Sean Payton coach team. Nope. But the more I watched them play last night, and I know they won, but the more I watched them play last night, the more I was like, this team doesn't scare me at all. At all.
Okay, number one, no. I don't think they should scare you, but if you're going to give the Niners credit for playing in a monsoon, that was gross last night, what they were playing through in Seattle.
It was not that game Sunday night. That game Sunday night, like literally, I don't know if I've seen a game that had such a heavy downpour the entire game. Like the entire game.
I agree. They played in a bomb cyclone.
I've been in one.
That bad?
Worse. Yeah, I sat on the sideline. I sat on the sidelines in 2015 for Baylor TCU. It was an absolute pneumonia bowl. It was unbelievable.
I'm just saying the Saints and I don't think the Saints and Seahawks got more than 15 minutes of clear skies. Like, it was raining all night.
15 minutes more than.
What? We're quibbling here.
The Saints don't scare you. Who does?
Well, out of this list, I think Arizona is a scary team. and I know this is going to sound crazy to people out there listening who are Cowboys fans who have lived through Aaron Rodgers. I'm not as afraid of Green Bay this year. I think Green Bay is pretty good, and they're great because of their coach. Because of their quarterback.
They're going to play.
But that's not a team that I look at and I say, Dallas Cowboys.
Mark it down.
The audacity.
Worried about.
The audacity to say that you're not worried about Aaron Rodgers. The absolute audacity.
Sorry.
Hey,
It's
mark it
unbelievable.
down. They're going to play.
Yeah, and I'm okay with
You know
that.
they are. You know McCarthy's going to face Aaron Rodgers. You know Jalen Smith, if he's still on the team, is going to play against the Cowboys.
And I'll throw you one other. I'm also not really that worried about the possibility. By the way, all these teams are good, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
all of them are going to be tough
worried about
matchups.
any.
But you look at Tampa Bay, I would like to see Dallas get another shot at them. I don't think Dallas would be intimidated by them. And you mentioned it yesterday. You get Zach Martin. I think that's a different game. I think they run the ball a little bit more. That gives them a little more balance, and we see where they fall out. I look at this list, and Arizona is the team I look at and say, of this list, if I had to choose which team I don't want to play, Arizona's the team
I think the Rams are the team I wouldn't want to play.
Yeah. If
Did
you're
you see what
asking
Arizona
me,
did to them?
I know. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, Arizona's going to be tough, but if I had to just choose a place that the Cowboys would go on a playoff, I'd definitely Arizona. Because it's a
50-50.
It'll be a ton of fans.
Yeah.
Because as great a season as they're having, you still got to go buy the playoff tickets. You got to purchase them. Yeah. And so Cowboy fans could get in there. Two, hey, I'll take my chances with Colin Murray in his first playoff game.
See, that's the part
He's
that scares
playing
me.
Great.
But that's the part that scares me. You look at all these other quarterbacks, and the dimension that he adds to the game makes him such a tough matchup. I'm not trying to say he's better than Aaron Rodgers. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it's just a different kind of dimension. You have to do things differently when you're facing that team because of what that quarterback can do with his legs. And in addition to that, he's got weapons everywhere. You talk about the Cowboys being loaded. They got a ton of weapons out there in Arizona. And then they just added Zach Ertz, who had a big play for him last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at that offense, and I'm like, that offense probably reminds me as much of the Cowboys offense as any of the offenses that you look at with their ability to kind of do a lot of different things.
I mean, I get we're just riffing and having fun, and I'm a big Eeyore, but I do I hate these conversations because going back to your point about the Saints, yeah, they don't scare me right now either. It's not even Halloween. Michael Thomas is going to factor into their plans at some point. Well, I didn't even do that on purpose, but they're going to get Michael Thomas back. People are going to get hurt. I think I brought this up. If I didn't bring it up on this show,
they just got a lot of defensive players back this last week.
It comes up. I mean, the Bucks were just a middling team until about Thanksgiving last year. I think about this. I brought this up when we were talking about it yesterday. For my birthday in 2011, my parents got me tickets to see the Saints on Monday Night Football against the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. The Giants didn't even look like they belonged on the same field with the Saints. It was disgusting. Like the Cowboy game in 2013, that's what it looked like. They ran them out of the building, 49-24. 6 weeks later, the Giants won the Super Bowl. And that's the type of stuff that I think about when we're having these conversations. I know it's fun, and I agree with you. I mean, I don't think the Cowboys should be intimidated by anybody in the NFC. I also know there's a lot more twists and turns to this whole thing before we even have to worry about who they're going to play.
Sports is fluid, as my man Jock Taylor always says. I think as of right now, and when I ask these questions, I'm asking as of right now what we're seeing. Who scares you?
Yeah, I mean,
Aaron Rodgers should always scare you if you're a Cowboys fan. I just want to say that again,
just for the record.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes back to where, are the Cowboys a real complete team? Because my first thought is, would you rather go to Arizona? Would you rather go to Green Bay? And I look at it like I'd rather go to Arizona from a standpoint of a lot of things. So you're facing an inexperienced quarterback in the playoffs. You're going to have a good weather situation there to function your offense. But then I start thinking, is that a good thing? Because the Cowboys can play in any kind of thing. I mean, let's say you go to Green Bay and it's one of these blizzard type of games. I think I would rather have the Cowboys offense, though. I mean, Dak's not going to be what he normally is, right. But they're built to play any kind of style. And so
McCarthy said that recently. I don't remember what he was talking about, but he was like, yeah, we're a dome team, which is technically true. Mm-hmm. But I don't think of them that way. I don't think of them as having this offense that can't travel because we've seen them lean on the run already a lot this year.
So I think if they got in and really, what are we talking about here? Just Green Bay? I mean, of all these teams, who would be a bad weather game?
Literally just screen. I mean,
Tampa could rain, obviously.
No, but it'll be 70 degrees. It'll be 65 degrees.
Sorry, it will rain in Tampa.
Just a matter of when, right? Yeah.
No, that's of the teams that look likely to be in the playoff picture in the NFC. Green Bay is the only one where you would think there would be bad weather, unless an NFC East team makes it as a wild card, which looks really unlikely right now.
Yeah,
because even the Vikings play indoors. Seattle and San Francisco, I guess, but again, they're not looking too promising.
And they're not
right
going to
now.
home games.
No, at least not off the Which, again, and same thing. Washington, I'm just keeping an eye there because Fitzpatrick is due back at some point, right? And you would imagine their defense can get it together at some point as well. It seemed like I didn't watch the whole game against Green Bay, but it seemed like they played them tougher than they've played some other games. I mean, holding them to 24 points. On the road, it was in Lambeau. My point being is just
they shot themselves in the foot offensively is what they did.
Washington just has the potential, I think, to where we could look up in a month and be like, oh damn, they're 5-6, or they're 5-7, they're still alive. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Or the Giants? Maybe.
No, I do not buy them. I don't. I've been saying it. I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I don't believe in the Giants at all.
Can I just say, whoever our Joe and Flower Mound would be, the guy that's mad right now.
Gary and Grapevine?
Gary and Grapevine. We know that they play the Vikings this week, and we know that the Vikings are good, and we know that
we'll get to that tomorrow.
Game.
It's Tuesday.
We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that tomorrow.
Don't all the guys over there, they're already talking.
No.
Okay. We know they're good. It's going to be a tough game.
They will dominate our conversation for the rest of the week starting tomorrow.
Just from our perspective, which this is kind of rare too. The Vikings were off as well, so we don't even have a Vikings game to analyze. So
from last week, yeah.
It's Tuesday. The team's off. We'll be neck deep in Vikings. I said this yesterday. If this game isn't in doubt with 5 minutes left to play, I'll be surprised. I agree with it's a tough place to play. I think they're better than their record indicates that they are. I think this might be, I don't want to say a wake-up call, but the Cowboys have just kind of been on this fun roll. I don't think this game's going to be fun. They might win, but I don't think you're going to be stressed when it gets down to crunch time.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is they have, the bad part about it is they have an offense with great receivers and they have Kirk Cousins. The good thing is they have Kirk Cousins. Because he's playing well, but I'm telling you, he'll give it up for you.
Although he hasn't been doing it this season.
He hasn't been this year.
He has not been giving it up this season. And maybe this is the game he begins. Maybe he hasn't faced Trayvon Diggs.
Right?
Yeah, but he only has, I think he has 2 interceptions this year.
2 picks on the year.
He's not throwing the ball away.
He doesn't have to throw interceptions. It's not necessarily interception. He struggles in the fourth quarter sometimes. I've seen it. We've seen enough games. We did it last year. He dominated that game last year. They were up and down the field with those cornerbacks that shouldn't even be in the league, and they're not in the league anymore. But then at the end, after the Cowboys, Schultz scored a touchdown to take the lead. They're like, here we go. They got plenty of time. And it was like 3 or 4 and out.
Yeah.
And
we got to pull it up. His record in primetime games is not good.
Yeah, he doesn't
really
well
not.
But it might be a big fact there.
For clarity's sake, I love the way this all changes. Week 1, they lose in overtime to Cincinnati, and you're like, oh, they probably should have won that. Well, Cincinnati's on top of the North right now. And then they probably gave Arizona their closest game of the year. They lost on the last play of the game.
This is not a bad team.
They're not bad.
This is not a bad team.
They lose to?
They lost. They played a terrible game against Cleveland, which again is, I know their record's not great, but that's a talented team. That's 3.
That's 3 good losses.
3 nice
Baker
losses.
Was playing.
Their wins aren't great either, though. They barely beat Detroit. They barely beat Carolina.
See, that's the way I was thinking about Kansas City until they lost like that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, look who Kansas City has lost to. But then they lost. Bad to the Titans.
The way they lost last week is more telling than that they lost.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
What did I just see? What was that?
I don't know.
I saw somebody in a costume or something. I don't know.
I don't really even want to know. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, I do have another question
jump
for you
scare
guys.
like a few years ago.
I'm going to ask you guys a question about what position the Cowboys should be looking for in a trade, if you think there is one, before the trade deadline. We'll talk about that when we come right back next. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team is back for another exciting season. Don't miss new episodes every Friday night at 9, 8 Central, only on CMT.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We only have a few more minutes left, but I did promise that I would get to some questions from some fans. And so I got one question I want to hit you guys with before we end the show. This one came from Devin on Twitter, Devin Delgado. He says, what position could the Cowboys look to trade for that would push us over the top? Trade deadline, I think, is next week. November 2nd, is that accurate?
It's Tuesday next week.
And so that being said, where do you think the Cowboys should look if they were like, hey, we just got one position. If we address this position, it can push us over the top, and we think we'll be perfectly suited to be a Super Bowl winner?
I blame Jerry Jones for this because he talks about Charles Haley so much. He's like, that's what pushed us over the top, and so we do this all the time.
But you've talked about this before, Dave, and on fairness, you've talked about the the Eagles and what they did the year they won the Super Bowl. When you kind of go all in, you find that guy.
No, but see,
I think it was the running back that year that they picked up.
What I love about the Eagles is like they're aggressive, but they don't quote unquote go all in. Like they do calculated stuff. Like what I loved that they did the year that they won that Super Bowl was they traded like mid-draft picks for Timmy Jernigan, who at the time was a really disruptive defensive tackle. That's the type of stuff I love.
Which this could be that kind of stuff. Like you're not going out and getting a level player right now.
When you say push us over the top, that's what I think. Okay. And we're arguing semantics.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's not an Amari Cooper type of trade. We're not going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
But
I guess that's what I mean. It's I'm not out here looking for big fish.
But who could you maybe, what position, I'm not who, but what position could you possibly be looking at that you think could have an immediate impact and make you a team that you're like, man, if that hole is shored up, I think this team is well on its way.
There's like 6 positions like that.
Okay.
I mean, every position that you don't, and this is a good football team, but not every position is going to have a guy in the Pro Bowl, obviously. So any of those guys, like a center, a guard. The only problem about those two is that you're talking about continuity, and it might not be the easiest thing to just plug a guy in and say he's way better. I don't know about that.
But you could practice him, get him ready, and by December he could be way better, right?
In a perfect, I mean, center comes to mind. We're not going to say names, but if you follow the league, there are some veteran centers on some bad teams. I mean, if that was capable of happening, I would do it. But again, are the Cowboys in a place where they think they so drastically need that they're going to give up valuable assets for it? And the better the player, the better the asset, right? I don't think so. I would have done, I guess, since he already got traded, I think I would have done the Gilmore thing. I would have done that, but they didn't. I probably would have done assuming they did their homework on him, I would have done the Henderson thing that Carolina's just, they got every cornerback that was available anyway. I would have done that, but those situations are hard to find because like the team that has him has to be willing to trade him. The price has to be okay. And you have to be able to fit it under your cap. And so the better the player, that's what makes that more difficult because can you take on $8 million for Stephon Gilmore? Probably, maybe if you really want to, but do they want to? Center, if there was another cornerback that was available, I would be interested. I don't think there is. What about defensive tackle? I mean, that's what you think right now, but Tristan Hill's coming back. Neville Gallimore will be back soon. Like, I don't feel some sort of drastic need there.
You know, we've seen the Cowboys do it. They did it with Amari Cooper. But they did that, and they said it 1,000 times why they did it. It was because he's 24 years old, and they said this is going to be a future guy. This isn't just to help us now, which it certainly did help him now.
Right.
But
And it still is. So,
it still is. It'd be one of those type of things. I still think that's the case here. Even though this team's 5-1 and maybe need a guy to over the top, you know, I mean, I still think you got to look at a player like, hey, we're going to get this guy. Maybe he's on the last year of his deal because usually that's how you trade guys. It's the last year or two on their contract to make it easy for them to trade. But I still think it's a guy like, hey, he's still 26. He's 27. He's going into a second contract. He's a guy we'll probably want to re-sign. So it would have to be a good situation that way.
I really loved, and this is the framing that we're getting from Jerry Jones, which I love, is you're getting a lot of talent back over the second half of the season that you didn't have in the first. A 1,000-yard receiver in Michael Gallup, a 50-game starting right tackle in Lyle Collins, two promising young defensive tackles. Gallimore more so than Hill, but that's still two guys that were drafted highly. And then further down the line, an all-pro defensive end.
And another defensive end, too, in Dorrance Armstrong.
Dorrance Armstrong as well.
Really good training camp.
Well, yeah.
And so,
who's probably better than Basham.
Yeah. I think so.
Well, look at how much they were playing him before he got hurt. Yeah.
And so there's going to be other injuries that offset that, and I get that, but that's a lot of talent that's coming back to your roster, and almost literally none of those guys that I just named had a hand in getting you to 5-1. Like Gallup and Lawrence played in week 1. They didn't have these amazing games. Lyle played week 1 as well, but Gallimore hasn't played at all. Hill hasn't played at all.
Yeah.
It's a lot of talent that's going to be available to you in the next month or so.
You've got
Kelvin Joseph, second-round pick that everybody's clamoring to see. I think he might play in this game. He's gonna practice for the second week this week. So
that's the biggest thing they've got to do is figure out how to get them on the roster. Yeah. I mean, you've got guys that you've got to figure out. And I'll tell you, the toughest guy to get on the roster maybe is Josh Ball. We didn't even mention that. But I mean, here's an offensive tackle coming back. He's a rookie, 4th-round pick. He's going to be on the team. He's going to be here. So. You got to.
Can you just leave a guy on IR? Like, do you have to bring him back even if he's healthy?
You don't have to, right? There still is an IR for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah. Well, I think
so. You have your 21 day, and if they're not ready by the 21 day end, then the
way it works
IR for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well. So you activate a guy's 3-week practice window, and if you don't move him to the roster after that window, then he reverts to IR for the rest of the year. But if you don't even activate his practice window, I think he can just sit there.
I would assume so, yeah.
I would assume he could.
I mean, obviously, you want a young guy like Josh Ball practicing and getting better, but I'm just saying.
Rather than risk losing, maybe.
They're not going to lose him. They're not going to cut him.
It would just figure it out. But I mean, yeah, you can do that until the league probably you start abusing it. You know what I mean? Like that because it was a.
Well, he's already been hurt, so who's to say that it's not? That
right.
It's healthy,
Maybe they have to do a physical or something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's another player that's coming back to the team that I don't think he's an option to play, though. I don't think that they would try to play him.
He's so far down the depth chart.
I don't know
They
how
have a
you.
lot of
Yeah,
injuries.
and he is the forgotten man. But with Lyle back on the team, they have 4 experienced players at this point. I mean, really experienced players. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I wonder if he might just be camping out on IR for a little while.
Yeah. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to start talking Cowboys versus Vikings. We'll have Bucky Brooks join us tomorrow. Talk a little bit about the Vikings offense versus the Cowboys defense. Still in for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman. I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!